Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half Hong Konger on the home side, half English on the away side. And both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel a number of times before. When it comes to the home brewery, I would say that these guys are best known for their different kinds of lager beers, but they do a lot of other styles as well. But the away brewery really made their name when it came to different kinds of IPAs and stuff like this. I drank a lot of their early beers, and those were really quite good and really quite pioneering at the time. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is part of a collaborative series by the home brewery. These things are really quite popular and they're quite readily available here in Hong Kong, and it's a style that I very much enjoy as well, and one that has been gaining a little bit of popularity again over the last little while. So yeah, needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this one's going to have in store for us. It's a style that I know both breweries can do very well, so hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, for the home side of things, we are going to head over to Hong Kong Island. We're going to go to Wong Chuk in the southern part of the island, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Young Master Brewery. So this particular beer is called Collaborative or Collaboration IPA number 5. It comes in at 7% ABV. It's a West Coast IPA, and this one has been brewed in collaboration with Cloudwater Brew Co, who are from Manchester over in England. But Cloudwater have quite a lot of activity here in Hong Kong because the main man behind Cloudwater, his wife, is actually a Hong Konger. So yeah, kind of cool. But this should be a really quite interesting one actually. I've heard good things about this one, but I haven't actually even had a little sip of this because I wanted my review to be my first taste of this particular beer. But yeah, another one in the collaborative series from the wonderful Young Master Brewery. Let's crack on and see what this beer is going to have in store for us. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about both the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from both Young Master Brewery and from Cloudwater Brew Co. We'll add more to those lists at some point in the near future, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in both the Hong Kong and the English playlist, and those are being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Young Master first, since they are the home brewery in this case. So Young Master Brewery was founded back in 2013 by Rohit Dugar, who is originally from New Delhi in India. But he moved from New York to Hong Kong back in 2011, and he was working for Goldman Sachs, but after a while he decided to quit and found his own microbrewery, because at heart he was a big beer enthusiast. But in the early days he was joined at the brewery by the German brewer Ulrich Altbauer, who had a very extensive history of brewing in mainland China, and he was the master brewery for the first few years, but sadly he died in 2016, just before they were about to kind of move. But the current brew team is Edwin and Brian, who both of whom have worked for the brewery for a good number of years, and their first brewery was located in Ap Lei Chau, which is a little island just off the south of Hong Kong Island. And this facility had a 10 hectolitre brew house, which acted as their main production until mid-2016. But they opened up a new brewery in Wong Chuk with a 40 hectolitre brew house from GA in Germany, and this also gave them a larger barrel aging area. And they also have a fodder there, which was the first one, the first sour beer fodder in the whole of Asia, which is quite impressive. So Young Master were, or are still, a very kind of pioneering brewery. But these days, apparently they're brewing in the region of 15,000 litres of beer per month. But I would not be surprised if that figure isn't wholly accurate. But they've got several tap rooms these days, and restaurants as well. This includes TAP, the Ale Project in Mong Kok. They used to have one up in Shun Wan as well. They have Second Draft, at Victoria Park over in Causeway Bay. That's a lovely bar. I do recommend that you check that one out. There's also Pub 1842 in Central. There's Alvy's, or there was Alvy's in Kennedy Town until recently, which did some really, really nice pizzas. And they also had the Guild in Singapore as well, which has a circular bar. It's quite interesting. I popped in there for one when I was down visiting Singapore very recently. But today, they are the largest craft brewery by volume in Hong Kong and also the most decorated brewery as well. Like I said to you, these guys are kind of my go-to brewery when it comes to locally produced lagers. They do a really nice Märzen for Oktoberfest, and they also have their Pilsner, which is distributed all across Hong Kong, and I do recommend you check that out. But as of April 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 270 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and they now employ in the region of 20 people. So yeah, that's everything I can really tell you about Young Master Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on to the English side of things then, and Cloudwater Brewing Company. The first time we've reviewed something from these guys in a good couple of years actually, but you'll see a few more things involving this brewery coming up. So, Cloudwater Brewing Company, as I've told you before, was founded in early 2015 by Paul Jones and James Campbell after the latter left Marble Brewing Company. But they were also joined in the early days by Al Wall and Will France, both of whom have a wealth of experience in home brewing, professional brewing and also bar management. But the original brewery is in the Piccadilly Trading Estate in Manchester, and they began brewing there in March of 2015, and they officially opened their on-site tap room in April. But soon after this, they opened up an arch under Piccadilly Station, which they called the Barrel Store, and this acted both as another tap room and also as a storage area for their barrel-aged beers. Most of the things that were on tap there were the kind of bigger imperial stouts and stuff, and also the kind of sour beers. But in early 2017, they closed down the on-site tap room to allow for an expanded production space to meet the demand, because their beers proved to be very, very popular. And then in July of 2018, they closed the Barrel Store to open up a new space called Unit 9, which is just adjacent to the brewery, and this still acts as their kind of main home tap room, if you like. But they initially started off brewing on a 2,400 litre brew kit. They've increased this quite dramatically over the years, and James Campbell left the brewery in September of 2018 to work as a brewing consultant, but he also founded his own nano brewery called Cervezas de Autor as well. So I need to look up those and see if I can try some of them. But for a period, Cloudwater Brewing were contract brewing some of their beers at Brewdog in Scotland to sell in Tesco supermarkets, but this arrangement only lasted from 2021 to 2022, because Cloudwater did actually get quite a little bit of flack for this, because apparently they abandoned a number of the kind of independent bottle shops and things like that had really helped them to grow during their early years. But they've also added more venues over the years. This includes a tap room in Bermondsey on the Beer Mile in London. They've got the Sadler's Cat pub in Noma near Victoria Station in Manchester, and there's also the new beer hall in Campus in Manchester as well. So as I say, these guys have expanded quite dramatically over the years, and they are a very, very well respected brewery. But as of April 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 580 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, although some of the newspaper sources that I was reading said they have produced over 1,000 different kinds of beer actually, and it wouldn't surprise me if they have produced that many actually, but I don't know why those wouldn't all be listed on Untappd right enough. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Cloudwater Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and have a wee look at the beer itself. So I'll just have a wee look at the artwork on this one. So you can see this is very similar to the other beers we've seen in this series from Young Master before. There you can see the Young Master Brewing Company symbol. Also the, is it going to zoom in there? The Cloudwater cloud there you are, zooming a little bit more. Plain silver top, and this one, it's a 330ml can. This one cost me 24 Hong Kong dollars if I'm not mistaken, so that's about £2.40 sterling, probably somewhere in the region of like €3.75, $4 American. Something like that, €2.75, sorry. €2.75, $3 American. But yeah, 7% West Coast IPA, this one, like we said. It says, our 5th release in our series of collaborative IPAs, again partners with our good friends Cloudwater from Manchester. This nostalgic West Coast IPA features a rugged malt backbone harmonised with the classic combination of Citra, Centennial and Copper hops that radiate timeless resinous grapefruit flavours, culminating in an irresistible hop bitterness that rounds out your stroll down memory lane. So yeah, quite interesting. But yeah, we know Citra and Centennial quite well. All three of the hops in this one, incidentally, are American, but Citra and Centennial we know quite well. Citra, 14% alpha acid. It's going to give you, in a West Coast IPA, a good little bit of grapefruit, quite a bit of oily passion fruit, and also some good sort of lychee and gooseberry type notes. Quite a little bit of lemon lime too. Centennial's 12% alpha acid, and it's going to give you you know, a big sort of juicy lemon quality, quite zesty as well. Copper hops are quite an interesting one. I had to check that this was the hop I thought it was. So these hops are also known as Michigan copper hops. We've encountered these a few times. 8 to 10% alpha acid, first bred in 2014, and they're known for their floral and herbal characters, but also for giving you quite a little bit of peaches and apricots as well. So this was a hop I had to investigate a little bit again, because as I say, you don't see them used all that often in Europe or in as well in Asia. So yeah, that was quite interesting to come across these guys again. As I said, 7% West Coast IPA. This is one of the beers that was released through Circle K stores here in Hong Kong. So yeah, let's get this guy out into the glass and see what it's all about. So very curious about this. Oh, this looks as if it's going to be really nice. There we are. Oh, it's quite a dark one, this, compared to some of the other ones. So yeah, anyway, as you can see, before the head disappears, we can see that this beer is poured with about a finger of a frothy, I would say very slightly beige coloured head. That looks very nice. I mean, just look at that. It's like a kind of beigey fawn colour. You can see medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid, and it gets a little bit foamier the further up that you go. But yeah, looks very, very nice, this beer. In terms of the colour, if we shine the light through this, this one has a really deep, rich, sort of blood orange copper type colour, which is interesting. Wee bit of natural haze to it as well, and 1 or 2 bubbles of carbonation visible. But yeah, remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging you do or adjuvants you put into the beer will affect its colour too, but you don't often have to care about that when it comes to different kinds of IPAs. But yeah, this one, I have to say, it does look pretty nice. And as I've said before, for me, the West Coast IPA can lean sort of 2 ways. It can be either more caramelly and oily, such as Sierra Nevada Torpedo, or they can be a little bit more bready and biscuity, such as the Russian River Pliny the Elder. So that's definitely worth bearing in mind. So yeah, interesting things, definitely some interesting things within this particular beer style. But all in all, the appearance of this one looks absolutely great, and I think this one, just from the colour of this, I think this is going to be a more caramelly, oily type affair. So I'm very much looking forward to this, because most of the West Coast IPAs I've had recently have been more, pardon me, bready and biscuity. So yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about the appearance of this one. Let's have a wee look at the aroma and see what it's going to have in store for us. Oh yeah, that smells very, very nice. Properly old school, this one, and definitely a bit more. I will say, you know, it smells quite oily and caramelly, but it still has quite a bit of that big bready character to it as well. It smells like the classic American two-row malts, actually. Be curious to see what the brew sheet on this one, what secrets it had. But yeah, this beer gives you everything you want. You've got big bready characters in there, you've got sweet caramel, a nice big green component, and also that big sort of oily fruity character. So remember, two of the kind of, how would you say, requirements of a West Coast IPA is that they're normally more bitter than their New England counterparts, and they tend to use only barley malt instead of using wheat and oats as the New England hazies do. But yeah, so that's why you get a big, deeper, danker aroma out of these ones. We'll come back to that in a little minute. But let's break down this aroma and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth, as we always do. So, So the backbone of this beer, with this one, you've got, as you would expect, you've got a lovely kind of very sweet brown bready bread crust out of this one. I can definitely get a little bit of sort of woody character out of this one as well. There's a little touch of that woody sort of crackery kind of thing going on. So yeah, fresh brown bready bread crust, a little bit of woody crackery note, and then above that you've definitely got some sweet brown bread in there, like sweet wholemeal brown bread, but then you've also got a good little bit of like fluffy fresh white bread as well, which I find very interesting. Yeah, for me, the oily sweet caramel on this is lovely. Above the white bread, yeah, you start to get all the kind of biscuity notes out of this one. There's like a good little bit of McVitie's digestive biscuity character coming out of this. Straight up sweet caramel, and it's almost got a good little bit of a toasty type thing to it as well. I think there's a mix of German and American malts in this one, and you know, I know Young Master love German malts. They quite often use German crystal and stuff like that, and that's the kind of legacy of the Altbauer. I forget his first name. It was Hans Altbauer, the original German brewer. They love German ingredients at Young Master, so you can smell a little bit of that slightly drier bready character from the German crystal, but there's also that little bit of a more sweet oily bready character, which makes me think American Turo as well. As I say, I'd be very curious to see the brew sheet of this one and see what's actually on it. But as I say, sweet caramel, a little bit of toasty brown sugar as well, and then you've also got a little touch of that Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. But the malty side of this beer is really nice. I'm surprised at how bready this one is as well, but with the colour of this, that kind of doesn't surprise me when I think about other beers that have looked like this one. It's amazing what you can guess from the colour of the beer, of course. But onto the hoppy side of things then. So when it comes to IPAs, you have to remember there are three kinds of hopping. You've got early addition hopping, which takes place usually within the first hour of the wort boil. That gives you mainly bitterness and a very deep, dank aroma. You've got late addition hopping, which takes place within the last half hour of the wort boil, and that usually gives you a very bright green component in terms of flavour and aroma, and it gives you a little bit of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma though. Dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, is all about flavour and aroma, and that doesn't really give you any bitterness at all. But yeah, West Coast IPAs tend to use all three types of hopping, which is why they have the deeper, danker aromas, or at least they used to back in the day. There are more modern takes which only use late addition and dry hopping, which, you know, I prefer the old school ones. But yeah, the New England IPAs rely mainly on late addition and dry hopping. But yeah, the green component in this beer is kind of what you'd expect. For me, it's got a good little bit of, there's a little touch of earthiness in there, a little bit of herbal character as well, which I'm guessing is the Michigan copper hop, because that's quite noticeable to me, just because it's not something that I'm that familiar with. And yeah, you have got a little bit of that deeper, danker, piney note in there, but not too much, I would say. Quite a little bit of floral aromatic spice, and yeah, a good little bit of like an oily, grassy character coming out of this one too. But yeah, on the fruity side of things, for me, this beer, it's kind of what you'd expect. I mean, I get quite a lot of oily, I don't get so much grapefruit out of this one, I have to say, which I'm surprised at. I have got a little bit of a sniffle as well, so maybe my nose is a little bit off, we have to say that. My palate's still fine though. But there is like a tiny little bit of that grapefruit there, but I'm getting mainly like oily passion fruit. Quite a lot of apricot as well. So yeah, passion fruit, apricot, definitely a wee bit of pineapple, I would say, as well. So that's the Citra and the Michigan copper coming out of this one. But at the front of the nose, and especially if you take the aroma in really quite deeply, like you get some nice, you really get some of that nice kind of zesty lemony note, which you'd expect from the Centennial. So yeah, I really like how this beer goes together. So yeah, aroma wise, I think this is pretty interesting. So gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, has everything you kind of want of a West Coast IPA. As I say, surprised a little bit how bready it is, but then again, the appearance suggests that it might be. So yeah, as I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beers before you get stuck into them. That's always half the experience when it comes to craft beer. But let's have a taste of this one then and see how we go. This one is Collaboration IPA number 5 from Young Master Brewery in Wong, Chuk here in Hong Kong, in collaboration with Cloudwater Brewing Company from Manchester in England, Piccadilly to be precise. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that's pretty nice. I will point out we're not drinking this one at its absolute freshest, but it's still in very, very good condition actually. And yeah, it does have that little bit more of a malty character to it, which personally I quite enjoy when it comes to the West Coast IPAs. But yeah, this is really nice. It gives you everything you would want from this style, and it's certainly one of the more kind of oily, caramelly leaning takes on the style. We can certainly say that. So yeah, good stuff. Gets a big thumbs up from me, and the bitterness in this one is what you'd expect as well. This is definitely up there, leaning toward the top end of the bitterness scale. So yeah, let's break this beer down then and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth, as we always do. So, backbone of the beer, you have that lovely kind of brown bready, crusty bread crust there. You can feel that lingering there on the middle of your palate. As you move further forward, there's a little touch of woody character comes out of this one, so a little bit of woodiness in there. Then you've got a nice kind of you've got a nice little bit of like Jacob's cream cracker as well. So yeah, brown bready bread crust, Jacob's cream cracker, then a wee bit of woodiness. Then you've got all the bready notes that sit above that, which is great. So yeah, the bready notes for me in this one, as I say, you kind of get a layer of a sort of wholemeal brown bready character there, and it has got a wee bit of sweetness to it as well. And as I say, has got a bit more dryness to it, right enough. But I am like really wondering, is this more of is it more kind of German crystal malt, or is it more has it got a wee bit of the American Turo in there as well? But it's actually quite a grainy bread as well the further you go into the aftertaste, which is interesting. So it almost gives you a wee bit of the more English IPA character as well. So yeah, you've got that wholemeal brown bready layer, then above that you get a more white bready type character coming out of this one, which is quite interesting too. Then above all of that, you've got the brown sugary notes coming out of the beer. So yeah, the brown sugary notes for me are quite interesting, because you've got above the white bread, you've got a sort of toasty brown sugary layer, which is nice. So yeah, toasty brown sugar. Then above that, yeah, above the toasty brown sugar, you get the oily sweet caramel, which is quite nice. So yeah, oily sweet caramel is great. And then toasty brown sugar, yeah, and then you've got that little circle in the middle of your palate there, which is oily sweet caramel. Then it's got a wee bit more of a kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. So yeah, the way that this all kind of pieces together, I think, is really, really quite nice. So the beer gets a bit of a thumbs up doesn't get a bit of a thumbs up, it gets a thumbs up for me in terms of its malty base, this one. So it has a wee bit of a graininess to it as well, and it's the bitterness on this one, actually, I think we're going to get more sweetness out of this the more we drink of it, but it's certainly not the sweetest in terms of its malty base. But yeah, the big bitterness comes out as well. But yeah, we've covered the middle third of the palate then. So let's go to the back third of the palate. As I've often said, the back third of the palate will give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate. It just comes out at different, just come out at different intensities. So the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in there. You've got the brown bread in the base and the white bread on top. Then the base of that backbone of the beer, you've obviously got the bread crust in there, which feels a little bit drier and a little bit more grainy, of course, because remember, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, drier, more bitter flavours come out further back. So you've got that more grainy bread crust in there. You've got the, pardon me, you've got the kind of crackery layer above that too. Then the brown bready layer that's in there, that's a little bit lighter and fluffy and more airy. Then you've got the white bready layer above that, which is lighter, fluffier, and more airy. Both of these are a little bit drier. Then you can feel some of the toasty brown sugary notes just creeping over the top of that as well. So yeah, interesting stuff. But then above all of that, you have some really nice yeasty characteristics coming out of the beer. So let's look at that yeasty note. I will say as well, if you take a slightly bigger gulp of this, you get more of that sweetness. But yeah, the yeasty note above everything else, you can feel that dense, kind of brown bready sweetness, like an almost rye bready character actually in the middle of that that yeasty character. Then it's surrounded by a more fluffy wholemeal kind of brown bread. Then you've got a wee bit of a, you've got a wee bit of a crackery note, bread crusty note around the edge. So definitely, yeah, back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, it just kind of condenses down and it squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together in this one, I think is very, very nice. So yeah, I think we've covered the malty and yeasty side of this beer. So let's go to the hoppy side of things. Back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness in there, but yeah, as you move further forward, it's got a little bit of herbal character as well. And as you push further forward along the side of your palate there, it's got a little bit more of a, you do get a little bit of that deeper kind of piney resin note out of this one. And I think all three of the hops in this one are capable of giving you that if you use them in the whirlpool. So yeah, a little bit of that kind of deeper, danker, piney resin there. And as you reach the front corners of the palate, you've got some nice kind of spicy floral aromaticity coming out of this one. But yeah, around the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy. You've got a wee bit of zestiness in there as well, which is great. So yeah, on the zesty grassy side of things, I think is very, very nice in this one. So yeah, the way all of it goes together, the way everything pieces together in this beer, I think is very, very nice. Yeah, I like that about this one for sure. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. I don't know if we need to say anything more about the green component. I think we can go on and talk about the front third of your palate and the fruity side of things. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of the bready build up in there again. You get the brown bread in the base and the white bread on top. Then the base of that front third of your palate is the bread crust, the cracker, the brown bread, the white bread, and then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, let's have a little look at the fruity side of things too. So the fruity side of the beer for me, the fruity side of this beer for me is at the back of that front third of your palate, you've got some nice kind of stronger grapefruity notes that come out of the beer. Yeah, so stronger sort of grapefruity notes. Then that lingers into the aftertaste too, along with the piney resin. So yeah, this is the proper old school, deep dank flavours that you're getting out of this one. But yeah, as you move further forward from that, you do get a little bit more of the kind of oily passion fruit, maybe a little touch of peach as well. But yeah, as you move into the middle of that front third of your palate, it's drier apricots underneath, maybe an oily little bit of pear. And as you move into the front half of that front third of your tongue, it's pretty much all about the Centennial and that big kind of lemony character that it has. There's a lot of that big, big zesty lemony character coming out of this one, which I do really, really quite like. Yeah, honestly, that's really, really nice. I think, was that a mosquito? No, just a little fly. We'll sort that in a minute. But yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about the fruity side of this beer. So this gets a big thumbs up from me. This is a proper old school West Coast IPA, but a little bit more bready as I say, than I thought it was going to be. So in terms of the mouthfeel then, just to round off with this one, for me, yeah, kind of mid-bodied beer, this one. Quite oily and slick, smooth carbonation. IBU wise, I think this is probably, 80, 90 IBUs. It's probably up there. I don't know if it could well be the full 100 actually, because it does have a bit of that deep, dank, piney resin note and the floral spice. The malt base, I say, is a bit of dryness underneath, readiness in the middle, and the sweet brown sugars on top. A little bit toasty as well. And then you've also got that nice sort of oily, fruity character in this one as well. The tropical fruits, I think, become a bit more juicy into the aftertaste, but yeah, that citrusy note kind of lingers there as well from the Centennial. But all in all, a really interesting beer, this one, and a proper old school West Coast IPA. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I'm not sure how easy this one still is to find actually. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. A really interesting West Coast IPA this. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Young Master Brewery and from Cloudwater Brewing Company as well. We've got another few collaborations involving Cloudwater coming up on the channel actually, so keep your eyes peeled for those. But yeah, this was the collaboration IPA number 5, brewed at Young Master Brewery in Wong, Chuk here in Hong Kong, in collaboration with Cloudwater Brewing Company in Piccadilly, Manchester, England. Really nice beer, this one, proper old school. But yeah, until the next time, Slàinte, Skål, cheers, check out my social media, check out the brewery social media, and I'll see you guys in another review very, very shortly. Ciao just now.